Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the members of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, I am pleased to greet you all at this important regional meeting for the Asia and the Pacific region on the International Decade for People of African Descent. The history and contributions of African descent in the Asia-Pacific region has yet to receive the ample recognition it deserves. People of African descent in the region have been victims of enslavement and colonialism and continue to face racism and racial discrimination, while also being among those left farthest behind in development agendas. It is through a meeting such as this that we express hope that greater light is shed on the human rights concerns of people of African descent and enable recommendations that consolidate claims for better protection and promotion of these human rights. I understand that this is the last regional meeting of the International Decade, and therefore it is timely that we also avail ourselves of the opportunity to discuss what has been achieved so far in the past 10 years of the campaign. As you may know, the program of activities for the implementation of the International Decade for the People of African Descent envisaged the establishment of, and I quote, a forum to serve as a consultation mechanism, unquote. In that case, the permanent forum was also one of the outcomes of the International Decade. The Permanent Forum as an advisory body to the Human Rights Council and a consultative mechanism for people of African descent globally is mandated to monitor and review progress on the effective implementation of the program of activities of the International Decade for people of African descent. Since our operationalization in 2022, we have held our first two public sessions with the wide participation of people of African descent from around the world, resulting in many thematic discussions on issues concerning people of African descent, ultimately linking them to the three pillars of the International Decade, namely recognition, justice, and development. As an outcome of the discussions, our report of the first two sessions, which we submitted last summer to the United Nations General Assembly and the Human Rights Council, recommends an extension of the International Decade for people of African descent to a second decade for the period 2025 to 2034, with a view to taking further actions to bring about the full recognition of and justice and development for people of African descent. Specifically, we recommended that the second International Decade for people of African descent focus on reparatory justice, recognition, and equity, and address systemic and structural racial discrimination at the local, national, regional, and global levels. I also take the opportunity to inform you that the third session of the Permanent Forum will take place in Geneva, Switzerland, from the 16th to the 19th of April this year, and we will be discussing, among a number of thematic issues, the expectations and challenges in implementing a second International Decade for people of African descent. My colleague and fellow member of the Permanent Forum, Mr. Wang, is with you in person and will be closely following the deliberations you will be having. We trust that his contributions will add value to your reflections. Let me wish you all success for an impact-oriented outcome of the meeting. Thank you kindly for your invitation and for your attention.